you so much for keeping it KTN News Center, and a very warm welcome to News Center, where we bring you up to date with what is making the headlines. I'd like us to continue having a conversation concerning the VAT that has always caused a lot of controversy. But before we continue having that conversation with Nyando Member of Parliament Jared Okello from a city center studio, news just reaching us right now, it is that a pupil from Consolata Primary School in Nyeri County went missing. His body, the body of that student has been found, and of course we shall be engaging our Meru reporter Felix Maringa later on just to bring us up to date with that sad story. Remember the 9-year-old pupil from George Maringa, rather, from Meru County. Just remember that the 9-year-old pupil from Consolata Primary School was reported missing, and the saddest thing is that today the lifeless body of that pupil has been found. So later on we shall be crossing over to Meru County and talk to George Maringa, our reporter right there. So right now I'd like us to cross over to a city centre studio and talk to Nyando Member of Parliament, that is Jared Okello, concerning the controversial Finance Bill 2018 that President Uhuru Kenyatta made some proposals. One of them is to have the 16% reduced to 8%, and of course to have some cuts done on government spending. And Honorable Okello, one of the cuts that will be made is 5 billion shillings cut on the National Assembly and Senate, and also 6 billion shillings cut on the CDF. I don't know what you have to say about it, because your colleague, Honorable Caleb Kositanyu, is the Member of Parliament of Soy, said that he opposes that cut that is supposed to be made on the National Assembly, just because of the benchmarking that members of the National Assembly make. So on one hand, Kenyans are wondering why you oppose to that cut. On the other hand, you are opposing the proposals by the president.
My main reason for opposing the president's proposal to bring it down to 8% is premised on what we call public interest. We wouldn't wish to see Kenyans suffering. Even those who have paltry jobs have to be, subjected to immense suffering just because they're being overtaxed into their own country. Taxation is the only way that governments make money, but it has to be justifiable, it has to be prudent. So that is why I am opposing this. But again, I join my brother, Honorable Kositanyi, when he said that CDF are predominantly doing ongoing projects. For instance, classrooms are begun, or a police station is begun, or a sub-chief office or a chief's office is being erected somewhere. All those are projects that had started and are ongoing. Any cut, such as significant as the proposed reduction, would adversely affect completion of these buildings. Almost all our schools, public schools, have needs for a classroom or two or more. Some of these students still, undertake their classes under trees. And that is utterly unacceptable. And that is the wisdom upon which the National Government CDF Act 203, as amended up to 2015, was put in place. So what we are saying is that if it is a reduction that will affect the projects that are currently ongoing, then it doesn't augur well with the people out there. But again, another notion that has to be debunked is that members of parliament have very little control, in fact absolutely nil, when it comes to CDF management. The CDFC, who are gazetted by the national government CDF board, are charged with the responsibility to day-to-day run the affairs of these funds. Previously, in the last dispensation, members of parliament were patrons.
Honorable Okello, just sorry to cut you short, as we bring this conversation to a close. So what is your take on the blame that the opposition is actually to take the blame on the current crisis that is facing Kenyans? Because Apparently, it's being said that after the handshake between President Kenyatta and your party leader Raila Odinga, the opposition has not been at the forefront. So is the opposition to blame for the current crisis that Kenyans are facing when it comes to this VAT debate?
Well, thank you very much, Brenda. What I said is that the situation we are today as a country is not a new thing. It began in 2013, and as I did say, there are piles and piles of roughshod borrowing by this government. I remember when Jubilee came into power in 2013, and their first dock was at the Eurobond. The Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga came out very strongly and said, yes, it is firstly wrong to borrow money, but it is additionally very wrong to only channel a fraction of that money into the country. You remember 100 billion Kenya shillings, as was audited by the Auditor General, did not make it to this country. The Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga made noises about it, punched holes on the conduct of Treasury on this, and nobody was there to provide an amicable answer. So where we are today is as a result of our appetite for borrowing loans from locally and abroad, and that is what has necessitated the current state of affairs. So we cannot therefore apportion the blame now, today, on the side of the opposition.
Okay.
I am a member of the opposition, and I'm saying I'm going to run away from Uhuru Kenyatta's proposal. That is my cardinal responsibility as a member of the opposition, Brenda.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Jared Okello, Member of Parliament for Nyando, is among members of Parliament who have opposed President Uhuru Kenyatta's proposal to have the 16% VAT reduced to 8%, and of course also strongly opposing that decision, that proposal by the President to have cuts when it comes to the finances of the National Assembly. They're supposed to have a cut of 5 billion shillings and of course also 6 billion shillings cut when it comes to CDF. We shall continue bringing you up to date with what will transpire along the corridors of Parliament tomorrow, because they're supposed to be having a special sitting in the afternoon at 2:30, and of course before that, early morning hours, they shall be having a parliamentary group, and on Thursday